Hello, this is a watch I recently purchased, and in fact I purchased it from AliExpress. And for those not familiar with AliExpress, it's kind of a little bit like eBay, but all the sellers are basically either Chinese manufacturers or Chinese wholesalers as far as I can tell, and they offer a wide range of product, mostly unbranded, with some very interesting pricing. Now, as I was browsing on AliExpress, I came across this fine piece of gentleman's jewellery for 86 pence. Now that's a little bit not quite true, because you've got to pay postage, so with postage it came to £4.30, which is still pretty reasonable. Even given the low price, it's interesting how they've put a protective film across the top here. I think there's a protective cover on the bezel, on the strap, the buckle. Really, they've gone to a lot of trouble with this. So I mentioned the bezel. Obviously the style of this watch is a very well known style, kind of a dive watch, but I wouldn't go swimming with this. It's called Wave, and you can tell from the tick, tick, tick hand that it's a quartz movement. Let's give this a go. Oh, that is pretty rough. It's okay in places and not at all in others. Now I have this for about a week now, and I set the time on it, and the time is still correct. As a timepiece, it's working just fine and dandy. I don't know if I can prise off the little protective cover here. There we go. That actually looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Now I'm guessing that the bezel has a spring wire here, and the inside of the bezel has a number of clips. And I reckon if I'm very careful, nope, there's a spring wire. That's sprung out already. That's not a good sign. So I've now got this little, I don't know if you can see that, tail of a spring wire, and the bezel's completely locked up. So like it or not, I'm going to have to find a way of dealing with this. There we go. So there's our spring wire. There's a tiny, I don't know how I can see that, there's an L shape to the wire and a tiny hole drilled in the case of the watch, or the face of the watch. So that goes in there and wraps around. And the other end of the wire, as you turn the dial, clicks against this ring here. So I've just taken a tiny fleck off of that. So let's pop this back in place. So what we're trying to do is make the bezel click a bit smoother. Just going to make sure that's in place. I think I'm just going to leave the bezel where it is. That hasn't really improved it. I might have another play with this at another time. It is a little better than it was. So let's take the rest of the plastic wrappers off this. So on the case back, the bracelet itself is swathed in this tight fitting plastic. So when I received this, it was in that little plastic sleeve you saw earlier, and that had a wrap of bubble wrap around it, and then the whole thing was in an airtight jiffy bag. That feels not great. So much attention and care paid to keeping this in as good a condition as possible in transit and in storage, to sell it for, well, somewhere between 86p and £4.30 depending on how you look at these things. So there we have it, our Wave. This was actually advertised under the brand name Bubble, and it's arrived with me with the name Wave printed on it. If ever you've been looking on one of those Chinese shipping sites and seen a diver's style wristwatch for just a few pence, this is what you get. It keeps good time, I have to say. The bezel is pretty bad. Almost, oh, yeah, down up again. Almost not a bezel at all. It could more or less be used. The bracelet is a reasonable fit for my wrist. Yeah, I mean, for the money, if you wanted a, you know, a cheap watch to wear while you worked on your car or something of that nature. It does say it's water resistant. I don't know how true that is. I'm inclined to think I'm not going to keep it on this bracelet. There we go. My new watch to wear around the house. Now, it has to be said, you can buy a new Casio watch for around £15. Which do you prefer? £5 or £15? No way. Oh, I should point out, when I set the time on this, oh, it was comically awful. That's so light, and when you go to change the date, it's currently set to 7. Oh my lord. That's just collapsed under the weight of the hands. Oh, that resets. 17:49. It does work. It does work. But for how long? Who knows? Anyway, that's been the Wave AliExpress wristwatch. Thank you for watching. Do have a good day.